The third skill set, which is essential to become a good awakening coach, is the skill set of radical awakening. Radical awakening means, and we're going to, for those of you who are attending the evening tomorrow or the weekend seminar, we're going to be practicing radical awakening this weekend. Will all of us have an experience of radical awakening? Radical awakening means to be able to shift suddenly and dramatically from being caught in thought to being completely here. But it's more like jumping off a cliff than walking down the stairs, you see. It's the all or nothing approach. And there are specific portals, there are a number of specific portals which are available, which will shift your client's consciousness from distraction to absolute presence. If you want to do this slowly, then there are all sorts of ways to do that. Gradually meditating, or Tai Chi, or Qigong, or ping pong, or whatever. There are many methods which are useful for gradually cultivating presence, for gradually detaching from the mind. But there are also methods which can be taught which are radical and immediate. I'm not saying that they're necessarily permanent, but in order to be able to coach another human being to detach from the distraction of thinking and to be more present, we need to be able to know how to introduce them radically to who they are outside of thinking and what reality is outside of thinking. Once you've been able to introduce a client to their potential, it gives them the incentive, it gives them the inspiration to be able to then use the practices they need to live in that more and more. Do you see what I mean? It's rather like if you want to coach somebody to ski downhill. I don't know, I keep coming back to skiing. It must be the country that I'm in right now. If you want to coach somebody to do incredible skiing, you might, before you even get started on the first lesson, want to take them to the top of the mountain and let them see somebody else skiing down. You might want to give them a taste of the possibility as an inspiration. So this is the third skill set, is the capacity to facilitate radical awakening. And again, you don't need to be in some kind of permanently altered state in order to be able to facilitate this effectively. It's a technology which can be learned very quickly. In like one day, you can learn the steps that are needed, the right questions to ask your client, so that their attention shifts from preoccupation with what thinking is telling them to a recognition of what reality is telling them, which is often very, very different. The fourth skill set, which is required to be a good awakening coach, is the skill of radical releasing. Now, if you can introduce somebody to their natural state, if you can introduce somebody to who they are outside of all the definitions that are placed in thinking, for most people, it's going to be relatively challenging to remain in that open spaciousness, to remain completely present. It's certainly possible to have moments of being here, where problems recede, where anxiety reduces, where creative solutions present themselves in an effortless way. But how many people would say you've had at least moments like that, where you feel really present and your mind recedes and things just seem to be perfect? Okay, good. And how many people would say that you've been surprised by how quickly the mind jumps back in like a rubber band? Yeah. You expand, boing, it comes back. Very, very simply, we could say, to put a very simple understanding on it, the reason that we bounce back into contraction in this way is because we carry charges, emotional and energetic charges in our system, which keeps recreating habits from the past. You understand what I mean by that? So, for example, maybe you experience great openness, but you carry a charge around feeling wrong. I've done something wrong. It becomes a repeating charge which is held in your body, maybe from childhood, maybe who knows from where. You could feel very expansive, but someone just has to look at you in a little bit disapproving way, and you experience the charge being enlivened again. Do you understand that? In order to sustain awakening in a more and more ongoing way, we need to find a way to recognize those charges and to allow them to be liberated. Before we have some kind of glimpse of true awakening, the only way to try and liberate those charges is through a story, is through a personal soap opera. So, for example, if you have a charge around feeling you've done something wrong, and you bump into somebody who looks at you in a stern way and you freeze, the only way available, until we have some glimpse of who we truly are, of awakening, the only way available to work through that is through a story. You see what I mean? Through maybe living through it, through explaining, no, I didn't really do it wrong, through learning how to stand up for ourselves, through trying to change the kind of person we are. Do you understand? That is, for the most part, that is the approach which has been attempted through most kinds of psychotherapy, is to try and change your responses to life. Well, initially we try and change life itself. When we realize that's too difficult, we think, well, at least I can change my responses to life to become a different kind of person. Who's tried that? Okay, and who would say you've succeeded at that? Okay, so that's most people's response, is that it's not very rewarding when we try to change ourselves. When we have some recognition of who we truly are, some recognition of awakening, of being presence rather than being thoughts, of being openness rather than being reactive feelings, when we have some recognition of being bigger and more mysterious than we thought that we were, now for the first time it becomes possible to experience these charges free of a story. Because now, instead of being angry, we can experience the energy of the anger arising, but we know we are experiencing ourselves to be bigger than the charge that's arising. Do you see what I mean? It's like the difference between being a wave in the ocean and experiencing a wave while you know yourself experientially to be the ocean itself. Does that make sense? So now it becomes possible for these charges to arise, to be fully experienced, and to liberate without needing to recreate or reenact a story. And this is the fourth skill set. I just arrived from California, so a little disoriented. The fourth skill set of an effective awakening coach is knowing how to facilitate the release of these charges in a very, very quick and efficient way. The way that we teach you how to do this in the awakening coaching training, it takes about, how long would you say, to liberate a charge using this technology?
4 minutes?
About 4 minutes, okay. Maybe we could say between 2 and 10 minutes, but it's very quick. And in, I can't say 100%, but in maybe 75 to 80% of the cases, the stuckness of the charge does not return. Not to say that that energy never comes again, but when it comes again, it can just move through. It doesn't meet with resistance anymore. This is a very important skill in one way or another to know, to have mastery of, in order to facilitate living awakening.